Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you're new here, welcome in, and if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny, and today I am really excited because I've got another brand new Vosteed in front of me, and no, they did not send this to me. I actually purchased this one myself with help from revenue made by this channel. So shout out to all the channel members out there. Shout out to absolutely everyone who joins in on the live streams and donates. Without you, this would not be possible. And man, I'm excited to see this knife in person. The reason why I'm so excited about the Vosteed Hedgehog is that it is yet another compression lock knife from Vosteed. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, the sign of a new era. It's the sign of things changing for the better, because yes, it looks like a regular button lock until you realize that it's not. In fact, this is another company's version of the compression lock. And if you're new to knife collecting, you might be like, well, I thought only Spyderco did compression locks. Didn't they invent the compression lock? Yes, they did. And their utility patent ran out, which means that it is open season for this lock type, much the same way it is for crossbar style locks that were originally owned by Benchmade. Now we have companies like Vosteed that are making button actuated compression locks very similar to the Spyderco smock, and there are some distinct advantages to having a button lock like this instead of like the traditional plunge lock design which many people are used to. So I went ahead and I purchased this one because I saw them release it. I saw that no big channels had done a review on this new knife yet, and maybe they have by the time you see this. But I saw an opportunity because I'm a huge fan of compression locks. I really like the fact that you can actuate it with a button. It's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of Spyderco smocks. It's just a superior way to access that compression lock. This knife excited me. I saw it available on Vosteed's website, and I'm going to recommend right now that if you want one of these, you go over there and check it out. I will link to them down below. This knife costs $129, and what does your hard-earned $129 get you? It gets you a 3-inch blade, or 2.99, but close enough for government work, blade made of S35 VN. It is a satin finish with brushed flats, although you can get it in 2 different finishes on their website. This specific one comes with a partial frag G-Mascus handle scale, single-sided captive pivot, T8 pivot screw, T6 body screws, deep carry stone-washed pocket clip with recessed screws. So that means that you can put this in some pants that have thicker fabric. It's not going to snag on anything. Nothing's going to catch. This is actually a really great rendition of a deep carry stamped pocket clip. For those of you who like a lanyard, you do have an option for a lanyard hole. It has barrel spacers or standoffs, whatever you want to call it, in the back. Up here on the ridge of the spine, we've got some sawtooth style jimping, or geared jimping, you could say. It also has these very robust thumb studs. For those of you who like to reverse flick your knives, you can do so by accessing that fuller. So you've got the option of thumb stud, fuller, and this discrete flipper, which works very well. The action is extremely smooth, and when you hold down the button, it is in fact a drop shut guillotine. Now, I mentioned that I was going to talk about the advantages of the button actuated compression lock, or as they call it, the top liner lock, over something like a regular traditional button lock, which is a plunge lock. One of the advantages is that on a plunge lock, there is no detent. The detent is basically the barrel resting against the spine of the blade and the pressure caused by the spring, and it's not always the best detent on the traditional style button locks because you don't have a ceramic detent ball like you do with this one. Because this is a compression lock, there is actually a piece of metal in here which has a detent ball pressing up against the spine of the blade, just like it would with a regular liner lock. But the difference is that you can actuate that with the button. So you get an actual detent. Now, I have talked to a couple other people in the EDC content creation community, and I've gotten a couple different stories. I talked to one guy who said that his detent was way too stiff, and I talked to another one who said that it was perfect. Mine is kind of somewhere in the middle. I would say that the detent on here is definitely adequate. I would give it a strong, 7 out of 10. The next advantage of a compression style button lock over a traditional plunge style button lock is that a traditional plunge style button lock is not going to be as robust. If you've seen a bunch of videos on button locks out there, you probably stumbled across one or two where somebody did a spine whack test on their knife and the knife folded on them. You're not going to have that issue with this top liner lock style button because the way that it works, the lock bar tab is sandwiched between the tang of the blade and the stop pin. So you're not necessarily depending entirely on the strength of one spring to hold your knife in place. So it's going to be way more reliable in that aspect than something like a traditional style plunge lock. Now, another thing that I want to mention is that when people talk about compression locks, it's very common that I hear the story, well, it's just a button actuated liner lock. Or even when I mention a compression lock in general, they tell me, oh, it's no different than a liner lock, as you just actuate it on the other side of the handle scales. That is completely and utterly false. And I actually have a good example of what a button actuated liner lock is. This is the Dark Bolt Design Stratus, and this is in fact a button actuated liner lock. So it has a regular liner, and the way that this works is that the liner actually snugs up against the blade and then the blade against the stop pin, but the liner is not sandwiched between the two. You can actually take this button out. You can unscrew it and still use it like a regular liner lock. And it's good. It's definitely good. I'm a huge fan of button actuated liner locks and button actuated compression locks because they both achieve the same thing. The difference is that I actually do think that the compression lock is going to be a stronger lock overall than the average liner lock. Fight me in the comment section if you want to tell me how strong liner locks are, but that's just my opinion. And if you just learned something new about the difference between liner locks and compression locks, feel free to go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Something else that Vosteed is doing a really good job of is focusing on the things that people in the community care about. One such thing, and this is a big one, is the Rockwell hardness of their steel. This blade is S35 VN, and they have it marked at 60 to 62 for a target Rockwell hardness, which is perfect for S35 VN. I love when companies list what their target Rockwell hardness is, because then at least we know that they're paying attention. They didn't cut any corners on this front. It is really, really good. Now, you will notice that it picks up fingerprints exceedingly well. So if you're planning on committing any crimes, don't bring this knife because you might end up on the next episode of Law & Order. It's extremely fidgety, whether you want to use the button, whether you want to use the thumb stud, whether you want to use the fuller or the flipper tab. They all work really great, and I find myself gravitating towards this blade shape. I'm not a huge sheep's foot style fan, but I do really like this harpoon look. This is possibly one of the most aggressive looking sheep's foots that I've ever seen. And before you call it a Wharncliffe, it is definitely not, because there is actually a tiny amount of belly here on this blade. It looks great. And the good news is that if you're not a fan of this Damascus flavored handle scales, they actually do have a green and a black frag pattern micarta option as well, and you don't spend any more money to get it in micarta. For me, I really enjoy the blue and black Damascus, and this is a knife that was inspired by Sonic the Hedgehog, so it only felt right to get one in the blue and the black. Now, being that it's only 7 inches overall, some of you might be concerned with, can you get a full grip? And, The answer, in my opinion, is yes. Now, I wear a large size glove and I can get a full 4-finger grip. The natural grip for this knife includes choking up right there on that finger choil, and that's perfect because it allows you to get behind the spine of the blade, take full advantage of that geared jimping, and it works really well. This kind of reminds me of the same grip that you'd get out of a Spyderco Para 3, and it's really good. You have excellent control. It does tell you where to put your index finger if you don't have a choked up grip, and in a regular grip, it is in fact kind of a 3.5 inch with your pinky kind of sliding over here. Now, in a reverse grip, it works rather well. It works rather well because your thumb is capping off here on the end of the handle scales, and given that it does have a bit of a point, that's no issue right there either. You can in fact jab this into whatever you need, and it's going to get the job done. I'm really excited because for years I have asked for more companies to take advantage of the button actuated compression lock from Spyderco ever since the utility patent on it ran out, and this is a company that is doing it. Vosteed did it first on the Chaos, and ever since then I asked, please put this on more knives, put this on more knives, and now they're starting to do that. They put it here on the Hedgehog, and they also recently released the Vosteed Raccoon, or I should say re-released the Vosteed Raccoon with the same lock type. It is superior, it is fidgety, it is fun, it is reliable for your EDC purposes, and I really hope that it's here to stay. But I'm curious to see what your thoughts are. What do you think of the Vosteed Hedgehog? Are you going to pick one up before they sell out? Have you already ordered one, or are you on the fence? Is it a no for you? If not, why not? Let me know in the comments section down below. And if you want to watch more awesome knife and EDC content, go ahead and click on one of the videos that pops up next.